Travis Wayne Goodsell. We're transitioning into a new weather temperature. And so, always right at the beginning, I get the shakes from the freezing until my body adjusts. So, how do I set this up? In my life, there have been situations where I've caught myself sleeping. And I have found that I'm wondering, was I sleeping with my eyes open while I just did what I did? See, when we used to visit my mom's parents in Ventura, California, my parents and grandparents would be in the TV room. It was a mansion. It was several stories there in the Ventura Hills. And so when we'd come over to visit, my brother and I would sleep on the fold-out couch in the TV room. And since my parents and grandparents were staying up late, whether to watch some evening show or talk, I don't know, but my brother and I would be sent up to my parents' bed, which was one of the spare bedrooms up there on the top floor, while my parents and grandparents talked. And so when it was time for them to go to bed, my mom was always the one designated to take my brother and I down to the TV room to go to sleep. And so there were several times where I wake up and I'm like, how did I get here? Oh, interesting. And other times I'm aware that I'm being taken downstairs. And so I am unaware as to whether I'm awake or not, whether I have my eyes open or not. But there has been activities of sleepwalking. And whether I have my eyes opened or whether I have my eyes closed, I don't know. But I don't sleepwalk unless somebody else is accompanying me. Which, if I get a third wife, I am setting myself up for teasing. And so, one of those instances was driving down to Rick's College from Canada as I was moving and prior to the other move of the family. And that's a little complicated story, don't need to get into it, but I recall driving in the Montana mountains through the curvy road that I caught myself falling asleep. And of course there's a little bit of a fear and panic when I realized that I was sleeping, and I'm concerned that I would fall asleep and crash and burn. And so I was wondering, did I have my eyes open as I was able to see myself on the path, on the road, driving, and yet I had the jerk that I had fallen asleep. And it wasn't until one day while working at the LDS Church Distribution Center here in Salt Lake, or actually it was at Beehive Clothing before, or in between working at the warehouse. And I was pulling a pallet of boxes, walking down an aisle, and then made the turn, and the supervisor then confronts me right there, and she asks, "Did you have your eyes closed?" And I'm like, "What?" I think she confirmed that when I do my sleepwalking, my eyes are closed, which is weird. And so I can't explain that. How my eyes can be closed and yet see my surroundings as my surroundings. I am not aware of anybody else having that X-Men power. But nonetheless, it would go back to when my mom used to condition me going down to the other bed when visiting my grandparents. And so this morning, I was up late last night, and so I was up a little later this morning, and I remember seeing the time that it was after 5 a.m. And then I noticed shadows moving up against this area, and so I'm studying them to try to discern if it's a legitimate shadow or if it's just my eyes trying to adjust and seeing things. And yeah, I was just seeing things, and I thought I had fallen back to sleep again. And it was around 5:15 or something like that later, so just a little bit later. And so went about my day from there. And so while in the midst of watching Law of the Jews prophesying Mormon Latter-day Christ Emmanuel, I got tired, went and took a nap. And in the midst of my nap, and again, I don't know if I'm sleepwalking on my bed or what, but I was pondering over the weirdness of being able to see with my eyes closed. And then it took me to the Book of Mormon about the brass plates and giving thank offerings upon receiving the brass plates. And then it hit me. This video, which we will get into. And so I saw, as I checked the comments, a woman prematurely not paying attention to the video, but it is an hour and 30 minutes long, in which she put Joseph Smith Jr. as if it were the answer. There's no question here. And I have to input a question on the YouTube title because my Microsoft file system won't allow question marks on the title of files, the naming of files. There are just certain keys that are illegal to use. I don't understand why. It's a programming thing, I guess, but no. The latter days is not Joseph Smith. Joseph Smith is the one who sets it all up for you guys about the latter days, about the Christ. And so I hope she's not going into the realm of Joseph Smith is going to be reincarnated and come back for the latter days to be the Christ, which there are Mormons who believe this, because there were Mormons back then who believed that. No, wrong religion. The resurrection from the dead is not reincarnation. They're different religious beliefs. And reincarnation is wrong. It does not come from the Egyptians. It was a de-evolution from the Egyptians as they migrated out throughout the world, and is found in your Eastern Orient religions, and so which came from Persia to make that manipulation. And so no, don't pull that kind of a stunt. You will be wrong. You do not know Mormonism of Joseph Smith if you pull that kind of a stunt. And there are too many Mormons who do, and they don't think. Just like the recent Mormons who decide they now are concerned that it's the latter days, and so they kidnap Blaze and they're gone, and they suspect that they're heading up to Idaho to prepare for Jesus' coming, because that's the millennials I am now. And so let's go over the scripture thing for you. Let's see if you catch it, because I've already warned you about it, because I saw it. And when I saw it, I warned you, because I know that I'm the only one who knows any of this, because I'm the one who discovered it, because of my education, experience, publishing, research, discoveries, decipherments, etc. And so I'm well aware of my exclusive knowledge and the responsibility I have to share that with you because of the serious warning that's going on. And so, first, the concept of thank offerings appears in 2 Chronicles 29:31 for the first time. And it's Hezekiah who is, let's go to it. I'll have to come back. I'm really losing a lot of body mass. The ring, it won't keep sliding, and it's weird. Let's see, 29:27. Okay. So Bruce R. McConkie, this is chapter heading. Okay, he's restoring the temple and the rituals within the temple, and they're cleansing and sanctifying the temple. and thus are beginning to return to the offering of sacrifices in the second Jerusalem temple, right? Because the first one was destroyed with Babylon, and Hezekiah was after. Is that right? Yeah. Wow. This is, well, wait a minute. Interesting. Verse 1, there's probably more to this, and I probably should do research on it first before I go over it, but there's some interesting things here. Hezekiah began to reign when he was 5 and 20 years old, and he reigned 9 and 20 years old here in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Abijah, father of Yah, the daughter of Zechariah. That's the prophet Zechariah. Or, well, it could be a popular name, and it could be any Zechariah. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that David, his father, had done. And so, interesting. I do believe Hezekiah is confirmed in the archaeological record, such that he is a legitimate king of Judah. But again, Chronicles in origin has prophetic prophecy for the latter days in it. So that needs to be cautioned. Okay, let's get to the thank offerings so that we don't stray off and create a new video for this. And so Hezekiah commanded to offer burnt offerings upon the altar, and when the burnt offerings began, the song of the Lord began also with the trumpets and with the instruments ordained by David, king of Israel. And all the congregation worshipped, and the singers sang, and the trumpeters sounded, and all this continued until the burnt offering was finished. And when he had made an end of offering, the king and all that were present with him bowed themselves and worshipped. Moreover, Hezekiah the king and the princes commanded the Levites to sing praise unto the Lord with the words of David and of Asaph the seer. And they sang praises with gladness, and they bowed their heads and worshipped. Then Hezekiah answered and said, Now ye have consecrated yourselves unto the Lord. Come near and bring sacrifices and thank offerings into the house of the Lord. Okay? The congregation brought in sacrifices and thank offerings, and as many as were of free heart, burnt offerings. Okay? I'm going to check the baby name meaning of Hezekiah, because Yah is contained in there as the God name. As we're buffering, and we're still buffering. Baby name meaning Hezekiah. God strengthens. It's actually Yah strengthens. The strength of Yah. And it is the K rather than the H. So it's Kezekiah, as in Bach. Interesting. One mighty and strong. And so, yeah, I can see the latter-day prophecy in this. And so, the thank offerings come up. Well, it's still in my search engine here. View. Okay, in 1 Nephi, chapter 2, verse 7, it's Laman who's the river. It's on the previous video. They Exodus Jerusalem, Lehi, his wife, Sarai, and Laman, Lemuel, and Sam. No Nephi. They Exodus to the top of the Red Sea with the valley and the river. And they built an altar and made an offering unto the Lord and gave thanks. Okay? Thank offering. With a burning on an altar. And then 1 Nephi, chapter 5, verse 9. Yeah, they get the plates, and they come back. And Sarai comes out of her panic coma and is now thankful and now believes that her husband is now a seer. Thanks, dear. And so they offer sacrifice and burnt offerings and gave thanks. And for receiving the brass plates. And so again, Lehi, in the beginning, second vision, which is an exact same pattern match with Joseph Smith's second vision. Emmanuel gives him a book about destruction. And he needs to leave because the Mormons want to murder him. Looks like I need to brighten the screen. And so Joseph Smith, Emmanuel, son at noonday, gives him the Book of Mormon, Egyptian gold treasure plates, about destruction, the day that shall burn as an oven, and they that come shall burn them. Burn who? Mormons. Because I read it over in the video about Deuteronomy. You're supposed to plug in Joseph Smith's decoding into all Jewish scriptures. Okay? And when was the date of the second vision? The 22nd of September. And if you're thinking 21st of September, yeah, in our current Anglicized calendar system, but you're not thinking in the learning of the Jews. Because Joseph is doing this on a Jewish holy day. The 21st in the evening after 6 p.m. is the 22nd in the Jewish calendar. So it's 4 times, 2 sets on the 22nd of September. 9/11 twice. Remember I've been doing videos about 9/11? And Nelson, this year, on 9/11, 3 weeks later, finally confessed he fell. And on his birthday, which was 9/9, the stars fell from heaven. And Perseids, right there in the forehead of Medusa, whom he had slain. Wrath of the Titans, Clash of the Titans. And then the reboot had Wrath of the Titans along with it. And so the original classic was Clash of the Titans, and is a favored version, but the reboot also was cool. It's just different. And so you need to take this into consideration here, because the Greeks and the Romans were giving their version of the Jewish Egyptian prophecies. Because everybody migrated out. And so all of these are prophecies of the same guy. It's just they give them different names according to the different languages. It's Emmanuel, not Joseph. And so, in the Book of Mormon, we have 3rd Nephi 20:23. Now, yes, this wasn't the way it was. The original Book of Mormon did not have verses. It had chapters. The chapters were different. I believe it was Parley P. Pratt who added verses in here in the valley under Brigham Young. But the original Book of Mormon was not 3rd Nephi 2023. It just happens that it's 2023. So take that into consideration, as here Jesus is now claiming it's the latter days and he's the man like Moses to the Nephites for his second coming. Behold, I am he of whom Moses spake, saying, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren like unto me. Which he wasn't raised up to the Nephites. We're assuming, because we're taking this as literal history rather than the learning of the Jews, that this is Jesus of the Roman period of whom Constantine first created it as. In 325 CE. No! It doesn't matter if you turn Jesus into non-Trinitarian, it's still Constantine's creation. You're just changing the nature and character of Constantine's creation. You're not using the learning of the Jews. And that's what you're seeing here, is the Book of Mormon is prophecy of the latter days and the learning of the Jews. This is not Jesus, this is Emmanuel. He's the man like Moses. And so it's not in America, ancient America. It's future America. Zion. Because the destruction has already occurred. These are the survivors who make it to Zion at the temple. They built the temple. It's not a tent. And so then he talks about all the prophets from Samuel and those that follow after have testified of me, which is different wording than in Acts, where this also comes from. And so, yes, very interesting. But Joseph Smith does give us a clue, which I covered when I caught it. Section 64. And because of the 1981 edition with Bruce R. McConkie putting in the full date, because the 1835 in the Book of Commandments did not contain the day and the month, just the year. So since 1981, when the triple came out in that edition, Bruce R. McConkie put in the day and the month for us to see. September 11, 1831. So what does it talk about? Well, when I was about to go into the MTC, I was staying at my mom's friend's house. I think it was Pleasant Grove. They had moved there. They were the next door neighbors of my mom when she was growing up in Ventura at the mansion. And so they've always kept in touch. And so when I was going to go into the MTC in 1989 in May, right before the 17th of May, which means I had to go to the temple there in the Temple of Angels, Southern California, on the 6th of May, which was when missionaries who were going on their mission to report to the MTC on the 17th of May needed to go through on the 6th of May. And I'll give you a hint, the new name is not Noah. Done the videos. And so I get a letter from my cousin, Juanita. And she no longer goes by Juanita because she was pissed that it means female dog. So she, in a furious letter to her dad, she condemns him for naming her female dog and decides to legally change her name. And I can't remember what the legal name change is. She's always Juanita to me. It's no big deal. Get over it. I like dogs. I was born in the year of the dog. I'm allergic to dogs and they can kill me, but I like dogs. Nonetheless, she quotes this scripture to me as if I had said or done something to my sister Tiffany and my cousin was condemning me for it. And I mail her back, said, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? My sister is prone to lying to get her way with things, and so, I don't know what's going on. But my cousin supposedly had been told by Tiffany that I had done something to her, and Tiffany's offended, and I'm like caught in the middle. I have no idea what's going on. I'd been at Rick's for a whole year. What is she complaining about? But yeah, saints are commanded to forgive one another, lest there remain in them the greater sin. I'm like, what did I do? I don't know what I did. They wouldn't tell me. Unbelievable. But 23. This is Joseph Smith's tithing, not section 119, which is a forged document. Now behold now, It is called today until the coming of the Son of Man. And verily it is a day of sacrifice, and a day for the tithing of my people. Not for priestcraft. Malachi says, will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. Wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. And Malachi is also the day that shall burn as an oven. Okay? For he that is tithed shall not be burned at his coming. And so I had the quote from President Hinckley as the president, I think. No, he was an apostle still. In which he gets up and says, Mormons, section 119, tithing, or you will be burned at the second coming of Jesus. Not the Jewish Christ of Joseph Smith. Okay? So know the distinctions between the two. 9/11. And so 9/11 came and went, and 3 weeks later we found out Nelson fell. How art thou fallen from heaven? On 9/9. Oh, Russell Marion. On 9/11, son of the morning. Hilarious. They prophesied of his name. Awesome. And yes, Nelson is robbing God with tithing. As the SEC fined them for robbing America. Awesome. But you missed this as a fulfillment of prophecy of Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. If you're thinking Christian Jesus, all of a sudden, Christian Jesus goggles, everything's gone. It's now literal history. And it's 119, not Malachi. And so you miss 9/11. Day that shall burn as an oven. You need to be tithed with thank offerings, because the Book of Mormon is the warning to Mormons about the day that shall burn as an oven. And you need to listen to your Jewish Christ, who is Mormon, to be saved. And so he keeps on going with the burning in verse 24. For after today cometh the burning. This is speaking after the manner of the Lord. For verily I say, tomorrow all the proud and they that do wickedly shall be as stubble. And I will burn them up. For I am the Lord of hosts, and I will not spare any that remain in Babylon. Babylon? Joseph, what are you talking about? Babylon has long since been destroyed by the Persians. You make that same mistake in section 1, verse 16, Joseph. What's going on? And then you find out, oh, this 1981 edition of the Doctrine and Covenants, oh, there used to be other code words that the church claims they decoded all of them. Oops. They did not decode Babylon. Well, who's Babylon? Well, Babylon was a theocracy. We don't have a theocracy. Church wants to be a theocracy again. They're overthrowing the government to make themselves a theocracy again. And that's the whole point. The United States is not a religion. It's just the government. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was a theocracy under Brigham Young for 1 year until Mexico seceded and the United States took over the territories. And the one guy beat the church to Congress so that it's called the Territory of Utah. And then it became a state when the church was destroyed by the United States because of their tithing violations, criminal actions. See, when you're extorting tithing from the Mormons and using that extortion money to sex traffic women in illegal polygamy, it's sex trafficking. The church doesn't want you to know about that. They keep fooling you and deceiving you. There's nothing to see here. Move along. Religious freedom. Okay? So Joseph Smith is sticking to the day that shall burn as an oven, and it was given on 9/11, which doubled is 9/22. The second vision. 2 times, sets of 4, 9/11. There have been historical 9/11s in the United States. I did the videos a couple months ago, I think, or a few months ago, earlier this year, in which on 9/11, 1813, the Brits had landed and were ready to march on D.C., which wasn't D.C. per se yet, and the capital, and burned down the White House. Burned down the White House. And so we all know about 9/11, 2001. The burning down of the Twin Towers. But Joseph Smith is also a part of this. On 9/11/1826, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was born. So too was the Book of Mormon. In Canandaigua, New York, at the Freemason Lodge of the Yorkites. Yorkites are not the 33-degree Masons. They are the Knights Templar. Egyptian gold plates, Holy Grail bloodline from King David for the future Christ, Solomon, to rebuild Solomon's Temple in New Jerusalem in America, Southern Illinois. You got to know your American history. Who was the Master Mason? Joseph Smith Sr. And he passed that bloodline on to Joseph Smith Jr. to start the church. But the latter-day Christ was to be through Hiram. Thus, only Joseph and Hiram were prophets, seers, and revelators. Hiram was patriarch, Joseph was translator, as their uniquenesses. Okay? And so Spencer W. Kimball was the one who put an end to the church patriarch. as they were struggling to have a descendant who was faithful and true. And then there was a scandal about the replacement, who was gay. And so then we finally get the other guy, and then that's the end of it. So you need to know your real church history on this. And, yeah, interesting. There's Newell K. Whitney, The Danite, by Adam on Diamond, the headquarters of the Danites, could the church. And so Babylon is the great and abominable church. John in Revelation calls Babylon the whore, thus female, thus the bride, thus the church. It's the great and abominable church. And so, for after today cometh the burning. This is speaking after the manner of the Lord. For verily I say, tomorrow all the proud and they that do wickedly shall be as stubble, and I will burn them up, for I am the Lord of hosts, armies. Who's them? Who's they? And I will not spare any that remain in the great and abominable church. Ta-da! Who's the great and abominable church? The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the great and abominable church, holding Mormons in bondage ever since the assassination of Joseph Smith. Brigham Young been doing the videos exposing this. 19 July 1840. Joseph Smith calls him out. It's you. You're going to murder me, and you are going to create the great and abominable church. They already got the wrong name. And hearsay got back to Oliver Cowdery in his book, Defiance, in which he's horrified. Joseph Smith is a Danite? He changed the name to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? That's abominable! Yeah, Oliver Cowdery is revealing a super sacred secret that you're not supposed to know, and critics miss. Because Mormon apologists focus on the testimony of David Whitmer at the end. I've never, and neither did Oliver Cowdery, deny our testimony of the truthfulness of the Book of Mormon. So Mormon apologists focus on that and ignore the rest. And critics respond. But only to the part of him accusing Joseph Smith of being fallen and making up the Book of Mormon, per se. Not having the plates to translate. Just revelation. But doesn't deny that it's a legitimate, authoritative document. That's what you're distracted with. But you miss that Oliver Cowdery is told that Joseph Smith became a Danite and was murdering faithful Mormons who were not conforming and complying to being a Danite. And he changed the name of the church to the Abomination Christ, verse 19 of the Joseph Smith history, that he just gave that year. didn't get it published until 1842. So Oliver Cowdery didn't even know about it, because he gives defiance in 1839. Just a bombshell publication, and critics miss it. That was the coup of the church. Joseph Smith got framed and locked up in Liberty Jail so that the coup could occur. Brigham was executing Mormons. Blaming the wrong guy. And so, to finish off, we have in the United States of America, let's find out about its origins. History of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a national holiday. Holy day. United States, Canada, Grenada, St. Lucia, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Prayers of thanks and special Thanksgiving ceremonies are common among most religions after harvest. When did conference begin in the Jewish holy days? The Harvest Festival, Sukkot, ingathering. You know, the keys of Moses. Because that's what it's referring to. And what happened on the last day celebrating Sukkot? Oh, right, Hamas attacked. And everybody blames Israel. Armageddon has begun. All nations are against Israel. Is rooted in English tradition dating from the Protestant Reformation. It also has aspects of a harvest festival, Oktoberfest, women in their cute little outfits. Even though the harvest in New England occurs well before late November date, on which many Thanksgiving holiday is celebrated. Yeah, ours is the last Thursday of the month, unless it's the last day of the month, then it's the second to the last Thursday. Because they are, even if the last day is the Friday, they also bump it up to the second to last Thursday. And so it's on the 23rd this year. 23/11/2023. Which November is 9. Because Septem, Octem, Novem, Decem is the origin for the names of the months. And Septem, 7. Octem, 8. Novem, 9. Decem. But the days don't correspond with the Jewish days. It's 9/11 on Friday, the 24th. 9/11, the day after Thanksgiving. And so in the United States, the first documented time was 1619, the Commonwealth of Virginia. 38 English settlers aboard the ship Margaret arrived by way of the James River at Berkeley, 100 in Charles City County, Virginia, December 4th, 1619. George Washington proclaimed the first nationwide Thanksgiving celebration in America, marking November 26, 1789, as a day of public thanksgiving and prayer, to be observed by acknowledging with grateful hearts the many and single favors of Almighty God, all calling on Americans to unite in most humbly offering our prayers and supplications to the great Lord and ruler of nations, and beseech him to pardon our national and other transgressions. And so we need to cancel culture it because he was a slave owner, and the Native American Indians were murdered by the British. We got to burn the flag because, the blood of slaves. Got to destroy America because cancel culture said so. Overthrow the government and replace the Constitution with cancel culture. Because those little kids who got a pass grade to graduate from high school know better than the elders. So there you have it. The Jewish holy day is not on 9/11. It's just 9/11 in the Jewish calendar on that day, the 24th, the day after Thanksgiving. And I've gone over that because of the Islamic practice of Friday being the special replacement prayer for the noonday prayer, the 5 pillars of Islam, in which they add quotes from Muhammad about Judgment Day destroying the heathen. Judgment Day, Friday, noon, sun at noonday. The day after Thanksgiving, the Jewish 9/11, 2023, day that shall burn as an oven, and they that come shall burn them. And the Utah Valley is the highest concentration of Islamic centers in the whole world. Why are they focusing on Utah Valley? What do they have planned? It's called Utah because of the top of the mountains. Muhammad claimed to be the man like Moses. Went to the top of the mountain, received the Quran to burn the heathen infidels with their scorched earth conversion therapy. Interesting. Because those centers are specifically placed at key infrastructure and utilities locations to cut us off from escaping and keeping out or delaying emergency first aid responders, and cutting off access to the hospitals and making it difficult for police responders to also get to the necessary people. Nobody's paying attention, like a thief in the night. And so 9/11. Because you are familiar with Section 101's parable of the latter days, right? You study your scriptures, so you know all this. I'm just boring you. So we'll just skip to verse 51. And the enemy came by night and broke down the hedge, and the servants of the nobleman arose and were affrighted and fled. Church won't tell you it's the prophets. Because you're this next part. And the enemy destroyed their works, the temple, and the other temples and the churches, and the temple square, all destroyed, and broke down the house of Israel. Mormons. Olive trees. I have tread the winepress alone. Gethsemane by Claire Crosby. So cute. Have fun not listening, Mormons. Another hour video.